So last March might have left you in a scramble trying to figure out what to do with virtual instruction. And now we're back to school and you may be facing virtual instruction again. I'm Linda Cordes, virtual instruction turnaround specialist. And, I was in your shoes last March because I was charged with the duty of leading my teachers through the confusion and shooting them full of confidence that they could pull this off. So we did struggle, yes, but we figured it out. And we've had the summer to kind of mull it over and systematize it. And so, what I'm going to share with you today are the 7 key elements that we found will make virtual instruction really work for you. So are you ready to get started? Are you excited about this? That is awesome. Okay, so I'm going to kind of share a screen here with you and kind of talk you through this training. I promise to keep it very short, and just know that there is a handout that goes with this that you can download. And it's sort of like a workbook approach. And when I refer to pages in the training, I'm referring to the pages in the workbook. Okay, so without any further ado, let's jump right into this. Okay, so first of all, we're going to talk about 3 myths that are around virtual instruction, because we have to get a handle on our mindset first anytime we want to make an important change for the better. So the first myth is that virtual instruction is not as good as face-to-face. This is totally a myth, and the reason why is because, well, it can be just as good. We can still include rigor, engagement, differentiation. We can group kids. In fact, we really have the opportunity with some teachers to turn it around for them and make them more effective, just because we're going to hyper focus on certain key elements of instruction that make it more efficient and easy for the teacher. The second myth is that parents, kids, and teachers will magically do what they're supposed to do. You're probably laughing at this one. Well, anyway, we know this is a myth because, we kind of assume they will, but we have to know that everybody is going to need guidance. And the good thing about it is that if you train your teachers what they need to be doing, part of what they need to be doing is communicating and motivating parents and kids to do what they need to be doing. But it involves knowing, first of all, what are you supposed to do? How are you supposed to do it? What resources are available to do? And what do you do when you need help? So when we address those things, we can get rid of this myth. And then the third myth is that using technology is hard. It's too hard for teachers. It's too hard for parents. It's too hard. We could get a little bit whiny about this, but it's simply not the case. They are just tools. And when we break them down and we use the right tools for the right thing, you'll find that technology is really not as hard, and you sit back and you feel accomplished and you're like, wow, this really works. So let's get rid of those myths, but be aware that other people believe those things. Okay, so the key elements we're going to talk about, there are 7, and it's basically you're going to help your teachers master each one of these elements. So collaborating with their peers, leveraging their platform, not just understanding how to use it and barely use it, but to actually be very familiar with it and leverage it to make their teaching more effective. And also leveraging the strategic tools. There's that strategic word again. Engaging the 4 learner types, providing rigor, engagement, and differentiation in every single lesson, every single unit, regardless of what you are teaching or who your students might be or where your students might be. And then there is leveraging strategic grouping, and then communicating with home. So those are the 7 areas we're going to hit, because this is what we found we got the most bang for our buck with, was when we made sure teachers could master these things and do them well. All right, so first we're going to talk about teacher collaboration and how you can support your teachers with that. All right, so I don't know what you call them. You might call them PLC groups. You might call them cohorts. We're talking about forming a buddy group. And I like that word buddy because it implies that they have each other's back. They're supporting each other. Because that's the purpose of these groups. They're going to plan in these groups. They're going to share in these groups. They're going to collaborate. And yes, they are going to celebrate. So it's important that they meet with their buddy group at a regularly scheduled time. This holds them accountable and it puts it as part of their schedule. And it's good for you because it will help you know who's meeting when, and then you can pop in and be a part of those meetings as well. All right, so there's an action step here. And this action step is the action steps I'm going to give you for each one of these elements is really what you want to be supporting your teachers and making sure that they are doing. So you want them to form the buddy group as soon as possible, maybe even before you go back for your teacher meetings if you have not done that yet. And then it says that there are some questions on page 8 for them to answer as a group together. Okay, remember I said there was a handout with this, so that's referring to that handout, page 8. All right, you ready to move on? Here we go. The second key element is leveraging the platform. So when you think in terms of how proficient are your teachers, you might think of them in terms of levels. You have level 1, 2, and 3. Level 1 is basically they can get onto the platform. They know the basics of it. The second level would be they are starting to manage things more on it to make their class more engaging and more interesting to students. And they're just starting to use more of the tools that are actually on the platform. And then level 3 is where they are way more confident. They're starting to integrate things. They're conferencing with parents even because they feel so confident. And they may be using the grouping functions that are on there. We'll talk about grouping when we get to that key element. Okay, so there's your 3 levels. So what I recommend you do is maybe have the teachers do a reflection, show them this chart, and it's in their workbooks that you have downloaded. Have them reflect on what level do they think they're at now, and then where would they like to stretch. Okay, so the action step here is they work in their buddy groups and they take turns practicing one of the first lessons that they'll deliver. They give each other feedback. So they're in their buddy group and they set up like a Zoom time or whatever platform you're using, and they all meet, but one of them acts as the teacher and practices going through those skills. This, feel free to eliminate and let the teachers eliminate skills they don't need and add ones that they think they do to fit the needs of their group and to fit your platform, whichever one you're using, okay? This is really key that they get the practice with each other and they give each other feedback. Super valuable. All right, let's move on. Key element 3 is to leverage the strategic digital tools. So this is kind of like the platform, only now you're thinking in terms of what are the things that teachers are going to do, what are the things that students need to do, and now since they can't do them face to face, how are they going to do it through using these digital tools? So I like to think in terms of it being the right tool for the right job at the right time, not just using any old tool. And you probably have a lot of tools already identified through your district or your school that you want teachers to use, which is great because giving ordinary people the right tools, they will design and build the most extraordinary things. But it's about the right tools. So just because you have 5 different tools doesn't mean you're going to use them all for the same thing. Maybe you're not even going to use at all. And I also want to stress is talking about ordinary people. Guess what? You probably have some extraordinary people that you work with. So just think what they're going to do. All right. So let's think in terms of the tools and the function they perform and the efficiency that they produce. So you have teacher tools for planning and organizing, creating content, collaboration, assessing, and whatever else your teachers identify or you identify for them that you want them to be doing. And then student tools are going to be, what tools do you have for students to explore and access content? And I really want to stress that exploring. So like if it was math, do they have Desmos is free, it's online and it's free. So, but do they have access to it through your school, the way their devices are set up? Do they have easy access to it? And all types of other exploring writing programs and just any kind of tool that's going to let students explore. Processing content, applying content, and here we go, creating, like doing projects, creating and demonstrating what they've learned, and then whatever else you can think of that you would like students to be able to do. It doesn't say collaborating, but maybe students need a way to collaborate with each other as well, okay? Though they can probably do that through your platform. All right, the action step here is they work in their buddy groups and they decide what tools they are going to use. And then they probably, not everyone knows every single tool, so they should assign specific tools to each buddy that they will become an expert at so that they can teach and support other buddies in the group. And the mistake that people make here often is if someone already knows a tool, then they automatically become the expert. No, what I'm suggesting to you is that teachers pick a tool they are not familiar with and learn it, become familiar with it. You'll have those other people that are experts who can help them. So it's really spreads the learning out and really makes people feel more powerful when they know that, I mastered this tool. So it just is phenomenal the way this makes their confidence grow and then their willingness to learn other tools as they go. Okay. All right. So here we go. The fourth key element for successful virtual instruction is to know and engage the 4 learner types. We're talking about the format model, and I apologize if you're familiar with this. You've probably seen it in a leadership training perhaps, but I'm going to go ahead and outline it anyway for someone who may not have, in case you have not seen it before or seen it in this way, presented in this way. So the format model is based on the fact that we perceive, we take in information and new learning and content through one of 2 ways, and we process it in one of 2 ways. And of course, it's like a scale. So let me show you. So this would be perceiving. So we tend to perceive or take in information either through feeling or thinking. So if you take it in through feeling, you need to process through your own experience. And then if you are a thinker, you prefer to rely on external expert sources like reading a text or perhaps a lecture. And then when we look at how is information processed, it's either through doing or watching. And so the watchers prefer to make sense through reflection or thinking about what someone is doing and then doing some type of writing maybe, but it's more reflection is a really good way to help them process it. And then doers, of course, they prefer to make sense through active application. Now, what happens is when you cross these 2 scales, you come up with 4 different learning types. You have your feeler watchers, your thinker watchers, and then you have your feeler doers and your thinker doers. So you have those 4 different types. And then what that implies then is that you have these 4 different ways of learning or, these preferences. So if you're a type 1, these students are going to always want to know why. Why do I have to know this? Why is this important? Why am I learning this? And they need to think about the meaning of something, their idea people. They do enjoy small groups and dialogues. So your teachers, this will be helpful when we talk about groupings to key back to this. And they like to reflect on their experiences. Type 2 learners, their big question is what? What do I need to know? What are the facts? So they do like facts, they like experts, and they like models. They prefer detailed lecture with rich content, and they need for that content to be comprehensive as well as organized. So they are going to need lecture. So, for people to say, well, I never lecture, that's not going to help the type 2 learners. They prefer that. So even if it's a video that the teacher provides of this is how to do it, whether it's the teacher doing it or it's something like Khan Academy or Virtual Nerd, some type of video that shows them how to do it. This is going to help the learner type 2s access the content and process it. All right, so the type 3s, they want to know how. How do I do this? How does this work? So they are very practical and hands-on. They like real-world examples and situations, so projects. They like working on their own at their own pace, so that needs to be an option for them to learn well. They like to apply what they learn immediately, and they like to have tools to use. And then we come to learner type 4. They are the if people. If this is so, then what if this? So they are the dreamers who do. They like possibilities, they like self-discovery exercises, and they like facilitating change. They are experimenters, so the explorer type of people. They want to explore. They want to create. They love projects, and they are okay with adapting as they learn. Okay, so the action step is for the teachers to actually take the assessment, and the link is there on the slide. And I can also give that to you if you would like to contact me. I can make that link available to you. But they actually take it and they find out what their learner type is, and it's important for teachers to know this because we tend to teach from our own specific type. And so that means they might be leaving out all those 3 other types, or at least maybe 1 or 2 of them. And so then also, once they know their type, it would be really cool for them to look at a lesson they're going to teach, or maybe one they've already taught, and decide how would they modify it to include all the learner types. And this is really, when you're observing teachers too, you should look to see, like, if a lesson is not going well or engagement is a problem, it's probably because 1 or more of these learner types has been left out. So besides the Howard Gardner learning styles and being conscious of that, we also need to think of how people process information in these different ways and the 4 learner types. Okay, so now we're on to the 5th element, and this is providing rigor, engagement, and differentiation in every lesson and in every unit. And there are some power learning models that make this happen automatically. And so we need to get out of the idea of we're going to give direct instruction, we're going to do guided practice, and then we're going to let the kids. Okay, so we already know that doesn't address all 4 of those learner types. It's only probably addressing the learner type 2s. Okay, so, and that's why it's not engaging and it's not rigorous for everyone. However, if you use these powered learning models, you're going to find that automatically you're getting the rigor you want, the kids are engaged, and there are ways to differentiate it that are just common sense and easy and happen naturally. So chunking, so you're probably familiar with Marzano. Chunking is the same as his chunking. That is going to help. That's going to help keep kids engaged more than anything, I think. Yeah, so that's a total engagement factor there. Now, the other three are all, those are all combining rigor, engagement, and differentiation. And that would be problem-based learning, project-based learning, and inter and intradisciplinary. And I'm not going to go into big, deep depth there because I do whole workshops on each one of those individually, okay? But just know that, well, let's go to the action step. This kind of explains it. So with their buddy groups, they should identify, or you might identify for them, which one, if you're like really familiar with one and you're really, you're behind it 100%, pick one that you know is going to work, and stick to that one power learning model to implement during the first unit of study or the first month or maybe even the first quarter, and schedule weekly meetings to discuss the progress. So when I say weekly meetings, you might not be at all of those weekly meetings, but we don't need those updates. Let's get rid of those. Okay. It's nice when your computer is so helpful to you. But anyway, we're talking about the weekly meetings to discuss the progress that teachers are making. So like the first one might be just to decide which one they're going to use and give them a little PD around that strategy. And then they come up with an action plan of what they're going to implement and before the next meeting. And then when they come to the next meeting, they all debrief on what happened with it. If you have a coach in place, have the coach go in and observe them and give them feedback. And the coach can even be part of the buddy group too. Or perhaps you can pop in and out of those meetings as well. Okay. But the idea is over a stretch of time, you're going to work at refining. So they're going to get PD, try it out, come back for a debrief, maybe get more PD or more feedback from each other, maybe even observe each other's virtual classes and see how it's going. But the idea is this is an ongoing thing, sort of like a coaching cycle would be, an extended coaching cycle. All right, 6 is leveraging strategic grouping. And I know why this is so important with virtual instruction is because not only does it have the academic benefits, but it provides the social, emotional support that the kids need when they are isolated from their friends. It gives them an opportunity to interact with their friends in a really positive, great way, not just playing on Fortnite or whatever it is they're doing when they're talking to each other online. Okay, this is more targeted, and you'll see with the kinds of groups. So the basic kinds of groups that you can have is, of course, the whole group, flexible small groups, partners, and I love this last one. We don't always have the opportunity to do this in face-to-face instruction, but with virtual instruction, it is highly possible that students can meet one-on-one with the teacher once a week. How awesome is that? That could be for many reasons, but let's get into this. So whole group, and the group, the way you group, I said was, for the social, emotional, but let's talk about the academic reasons. So the academic reason that you're going to be looking for when they're whole grouping is, are they using it to introduce skills and concepts to the whole group? Are they using it to create a common language? Are they using it to model and demonstrate? And are they using it as a wrap-up learning or to wrap up learning at the end of a lesson? So that means the beginning of the week, you're probably for sure going to see a whole group. And at the end of the week, you're going to see some kind of whole group. And it's not just let's all share and let me read you a story. It's to wrap up the learning and to introduce it and to wrap it up. And so then you might also have that happen on certain days where there's whole group instruction, not just the beginning and the end of the week. So it might even be on a day-to-day basis. It so depends on your schedule, and it so depends on what grade level you're talking about. Okay, flexible small groups. So basically there's 4 kinds. You can have a homogeneous group, and you use those for practicing skills, for reteach, and for extending the learning, enriching, or accelerating, whatever term you use for that. Heterogeneous groups, on the other hand, are great for discussion, for projects, and for learning games where you want to have that mix of kids. And then I love the last two, the student selected and the common interest. These are the ones that where they really, I never in the history of time have I known kids to be so missing school as they are this year. And it's because they miss their friends. So let's make it purposeful that they get to work at some time during the week with a friend, with a buddy, someone they select, or a group of friends. And you can use this for extending a concept. If it's a high interest thing, so maybe science, social studies, those kinds of things where it doesn't matter whether it's skill or whatever, but it's just a high interest thing. Projects, games for fun. And when I say games for fun, of course, they're still academic. We know by now that there are ways to make games look so fun and enticing. And at the same time, the students just really don't get that they are learning with this game because it looks so fun. And then you have the common interest groups for purposes like Jigsaw, Resident Expert, and you can see we're throwing out some Kagan strategies there. Okay, partners are great, and you're probably going to see partners, or I would encourage them to use partners during the whole group time. So they'll break out into partners, and there's, there are ways on all those learning platforms. I'm really familiar with Zoom. So Zoom allows you to create these groups on the fly or ahead of time. It allows you to move kids around, and then the teacher clicks one button and it pushes the kids out into their group so that all they see is their group and they talk. They might have a specific task like a think, pair, share, and then the teacher can call them back. The teacher can also pop in and out of groups and check on kids. But so like during a lesson, you could do a think, pair, share. You can use it to practice a specific task. Go practice this with your partner. You've got 5 minutes and then come back. And of course, it's not like they're choosing to come back. The teacher controls that through the platform. And then you could also use partners to prepare for a whole group discussion or to work on a project. Some of those, like practicing a task, a project, even the preparing for a whole group discussion, those might be things that you assign outside of the whole group time, but then they come back to the whole group and report out. So just wanted to clarify that. Now we come to the one-on-one with the teacher. I love this. It gives you an opportunity to use one-on-one time with students to check in or have conferences, even involve the parents. It's a great time for goal setting, for reteaching or enrichment on a one-to-one, and also if you need to deal with a discipline concern. It's a great time for that, okay? And here's something really cool to think about and share this with your teachers. So let's say the teacher's on a 40-hour planning or 40-hour week, okay? So if you subtract the hours that it actually takes them to plan and teach, and so that's how many hours, and you take it times 2, that's going to tell you the number of weekly 30-minute conferences they would be able to have. And just to kind of give you an example, if you're in elementary, you take, let's say they work for 25, it takes them 25 hours to plan and teach. So that leaves them with 15 hours. So 15 hours times 2 is 30, and they only have 25 students. And they might have more or less. So I'm just going with 25 as a number. That allows them to have 25 conferences. That means each week, every student could have a 30-minute conference. And then the teacher still has those 5 bonus hours where they could be meeting with groups of kids. Now, bump it up to middle school and high school where you may have up to 150 or even more students. So you still have the 30-minute conference times. And I use the word strategic again because the teacher is going to decide, who do I really need to have conferences with? Maybe there's some students that need it every week. Maybe other students once a month or every 2 weeks. The other options would be you could have shorter conferences, break them down to 15 minutes, and then you could get 60 of those in a week. And then you could meet with everybody maybe every other week, or you still do those strategic ones. And then the other thing you can do is just do group conferences. If you're going to have the kids working in study buddy groups anyway, why not just meet with the whole group and then save some of those conference times for individual conferences as needed, or maybe with parents. Okay, so your action step here is they work with the buddy group to decide how they'll use the grouping during the first month of school, and then schedule a weekly meeting to discuss your progress. So it sounds like you're doing a lot of meetings, but maybe you're only meeting with your buddy group or your cohort, whatever you want to call it. You're only meeting with them maybe once a week or twice a week. Or, one of the groups I worked with, they wanted to meet every day. They wanted to end up their day every day, just sort of like to check in with each other. And that was really awesome. And then some of them had a partner that they checked in with every day. And then they met as a whole group once or twice a week. So lots of different ways you can do that. You can manage that. Okay. Here is our seventh. And don't think that it's 7 because it is the least important. It's probably the most important one, is communicating with home. And so you really need to have a system. And when I say you, I'm talking about the teachers need to have a system. So you have to help them create that. They will need information about when's the best time to contact parents and how to contact them, like text, email, whatever. So it would really kind of help the teacher to have a contact log where they have all this information. Who will monitor the child at home? When will the student be monitored? And then, is tutoring or other help available in the home? And I'm sure there's lots of other questions you would need to know. So they could either, if it's elementary, they might want to just call each parent and get that information and be more personal about it, or meet on a Zoom call. If you have a lot of parents to deal with, then you may want to use SurveyMonkey to gather this information. And by the way, SurveyMonkey lets you do a little video at the beginning to insert a video. So it's really, and that's with the free version. So it's really nice to have a little video for them at the beginning of the teacher introducing themselves, and invite the parent to video them back or not, and just ask the questions. Okay, so the teachers are going to need clarity about, and they're going to have to be clear with parents about how they're going to make it easy for parents to know and follow the expectations. Remember, we said it's a myth that everybody knows exactly what to do. So by now you're probably thinking, I need a system for communicating with my staff. So anyway, how can you make it easy for parents to know and follow the expectations? So it's not a matter of send one email and think that they're going to save that email and keep reading it until they get it. No, it has to be somewhere easily accessible that will give them everything they need in a little, like a cheat sheet thing. Okay. How parents and students will contact the teacher, and how the teacher will contact parents and students. They'll also have to be clear about their schedule and all the possibilities for how they're going to use their time, because we talked about a lot of different ways they could use their time. Okay, so the action step here is for them to brainstorm, and this is talking about page 9 of the handout again. There are some bulleted items, and the bulleted items have to do with expectations and procedures for parents and expectations and procedures for students. So they're going to brainstorm those on their own, then come to their buddy group and confer with each other and come up with a draft for a system, and then know that that system is probably going to change and be improved as the year goes on. All right. So how's your plate feeling right now? Are you feeling a little bit full? Okay, I'm going to pop back on here so you can see me because I'm kind of laughing about this. I know you feel like this is a lot, and it is a lot. And I want you to know that help is on the way. If what I talked about makes sense to you, and let me just get like really big so you can see me looking you in the eye. Okay, so if what I shared with you makes sense to you, and if you understand the impact it's going to have on the success of your students and the sanity of your teachers and the support that parents need and the confidence they need to have in what we're doing for them and for their children, but you're not quite sure that your schedule has time in it, like there's not room for anything else on your plate, then I'm encouraging you to reach out to me. I do this all the time for a living. I've been helping teachers integrate technology, and I've been helping them implement digital programs for years now. So I'm really good at it, and I've been an instructional coach, it seems like forever. and I love that. And I've worked with so many schools all across the nation. I think I've been in 45 states, so I know I've helped thousands of teachers. So I'm really good at this, and I want to be able to help you do this too, because I think this is a plan that is going to make virtual instruction really work for you this fall. So let me show you where you can get the help. You're going to go to, let me share that other screen for a moment. Here it is. Okay, so you can go to redhotmath.com, and there's a tab at the top that says Contact Linda. In fact, let me just let me let you look at this for a minute while I get over there. That's me, and that's my my website, Red Hot Math. Yes, I am a math turnaround specialist as well. And now I have kind of shifted, and I am doing a lot of virtual assistance, helping teachers with virtual learning. So I'm just going to show you when you go to Red Hot Math. So I know it helps me to see a visual of things. Okay, so there's the website. Okay, and you can find out all about me on that website. Okay, so you can read about me, you can see what kind of programs I have, you can see my expertise, you can read my bio. And then what I want to show you is I do have that Master Virtual Instruction Bootcamp that you can sign your teachers up. And they basically go through a training. It's in 7 days over those 7 key elements that I talked about in this training. So I train them for you, and then I work with them as a coach all year long. But if you're not sure you want to do that, or you have questions about this, you see up at the top, there's always a contact place. So you click on that, and it'll pop up a form for you, and you'll go to that form. Okay, and it has my contact information there, but it also has room for you to fill in and let me know when's the best time to give you a call. I'll give you a call. We'll talk about it. We'll work something out, because you probably don't need anything extra to do, but I think you know the value, the great value of supporting your teachers with virtual instruction, so that it's not something we're just walking through and trying to get through and hoping that all this goes away. It's probably going to be here for another 12 to 18 months at least. And we want to guarantee our students, our parents, and our teachers that we have their backs. And so let me help you out with this. I would love to. I'm Linda Cortez. Thank you so much.